If you look around, you'll see the world can be pretty smart. Okay, very smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. That's why we're reshaping online learning with our FlexPath format. You can set your own deadlines, take classes at your own pace, even leverage your previous experience to move faster. So when it comes to earning your bachelor's degree, you know what kind of choice to make. A smart one. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Fantastic. Kunal, that's one word I will use to sum up the weekend of the United States Grand Prix.
Yes, I guess I now know why the world loves all things American.
Don't we all?
And fantastic indeed. First, the fans for being patient with the weather. Second, the teams for entertaining the fans when qualifying was washed out. And third, of course, Lewis Hamilton's third World Championship win.
Woo! Let's clap for him! Very, very well done. But Kunal, I'm shocked. I never saw this coming. Can you believe it? Lewis Hamilton, world champion? Again? But on a serious note, I don't think anyone would have actually expected him to win a back-to-back world championship when he quit McLaren back in 2012 and moved to Mercedes, And back then, they were a team that were yet to win, let alone dominate.
That's a very good point. Almost everyone in the paddock thought that it was a silly move. But hey, look again. He's done what most racers dream of doing.
Hamilton has now equaled Senna's record of 3 world titles. But do you think he should be actually thanking Michael Schumacher and Brawn for setting this up for him?
Oh yes, most certainly so. Brawn more than Michael Schumacher at the moment, and Mercedes too. They've put together a team of engineers that would be everyone's envy at the moment. And not to forget, their hybrid power engines. They're already Red Bull's envy.
Lewis Hamilton is the most successful British driver and the only British driver to have won back-to-back world titles. Very surprising, no, Kunal? Given that the British racers have won more world titles than any other nationality. So they won a total of 15 titles, and thank you, Virtual Statman, for this statistic.
Yes, Hamilton's World Championship win came as a result of winning the 2015 United States Grand Prix, and what a race it was. Possibly the best that I can remember since a long, long time.
The best race, and a very, very welcome change for all of us. From the spate of boring, processional races that fans like us are otherwise subjected to. In fact, here's a plea to all our listeners. If you have family and friends who are yet to watch Formula One, the United States Grand Prix 2015 is the race to get them hooked on.
Absolutely.
We had rain, and we had more rain, and we had yet more rain. We had grip penalties, we had mixed weather conditions. We had McLarens in the top 10, or just about. We had the safety car period, virtual safety car periods. Kunal, I think we had every single element possible play out during this race.
Oh no, wait for it. We didn't have a Pastor Maldonado crashing, nor did we have a random fan strolling across the track either.
No one wanted to go home.
But I have got to agree with you this one time. We had a phenomenal race that I just didn't want to end.
If the race had actually continued as you wish, given the attrition ratio, we could have had local lad Alexander Rossi score his first points for Manor. That would have been awesome.
I'm sure the one driver who didn't want the race to end was Nico Rosberg. From being pushed out in the first corner to cheeky overtaking moves to finally overtaking Hamilton on track, this race was Rosberg's to win, had he actually not lit up his rear tires and make a rookie error. Mithila, till he made the error, it seemed to me that Hamilton was actually racing with Rosberg's helmet.
Or maybe Nico Rosberg is the one driver who just wants this race and season to end,
Maybe.
This has not been his season at all. He seems like an absolute shadow of his confident self last year. I really do hope, Kunal, that he can come back strongly to challenge Hamilton for the title next season.
Yes, and if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if Vettel does. It might be too early to say so, but I do suspect that Ferrari will pick up pace as we near 2016, legally or otherwise.
Ooh.
And for Hamilton fans and Great Britain, Hamilton's dominance works wonders, but not so much so for the sport and, of course, Bernie Ecclestone.
A dominant Hamilton-Mercedes combination that actually adds to Ecclestone's innumerable problems, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I really wonder what's his priority though? A faster Ferrari to challenge Mercedes or saving Red Bull Racing from closing shop? I guess actually it should be a bit of both or all of both.
There's also talk that Formula One will have an independent engine supplier.
Talking about engines, there's also talk that Ecclestone is pushing teams to revert to the old V8 engines.
Wow.
There's a lot of talk out there, and we've used the word talk a lot of times in the last few minutes we've been talking. But we've got to wait and watch which direction the FIA chooses for the sport.
But if the US Grand Prix has taught us one thing, it's that Formula One can actually be held over a shorter course of the weekend, So we had more Formula One action on the Sunday of the US Grand Prix than we did on any other day of 2015. Quality and quantity-wise.
Absolutely.
Kunal, my favorite day all of this year.
The race also taught us that if teams and drivers don't always know what they're doing, Formula One can actually be fun. We had most of the free practice sessions washed out. Formula One was forced to and adapted very well to a shorter weekend format. Some learnings for the FIA, I sincerely hope.
I loved the qualifying session on Saturday. I think it was perhaps the most entertaining qualifying session all season. For a change, the fans got to see candid moments in the pit lane. So we had the Red Bull racers do a ball dance, pretty cool. Mm-hmm. We had Williams and Sauber pull off some paddling. And of course, the Force India engineer and his crazy dance moves. My God.
When I saw those dance moves, I wondered if Lewis Hamilton would break into some moves of himself. Probably his rapper self felt a wee bit insecure out there.
Yeah.
And on that note, I wish there were points for entertainment though, because all of the United States Grand Prix weekend was entertaining, and how.
I was most disappointed, Kunal, to not see Kimi Raikkonen participate in this session, Just wondering what he could have pulled out of the bag. But I guess he must have been enjoying his Magnum somewhere.
Or, very simply put, he must have been taking a shit.
Well. There's just so much that's happened in the US Grand Prix that I don't know who and what to talk about.
The one memory that I have is that of the Toro Rosso racers. They're a revelation this season, Verstappen and Carlos Sainz Jr. I would hire them both if I were to ever start my own Formula One team. I really can't wait to see how their careers are going to pan out.
Nor can I. And yeah, speaking of Kimi Raikkonen, I can't forget how he wriggled his way out of the barriers after going off. He was determined to get back into the race at any cost, come what may. I guess his contract with Ferrari has a finish the race bonus.
I guess this is also time to quote the famous Murray Walker. He once said, "Anything happens in Formula One, and it usually does." But this is also where I somewhat feel that Bernie Ecclestone isn't too wrong when he talks of circuits needing to install artificial sprinklers. First DRS, now sprinklers, and as artificial as it may sound, fans might just find these entertaining like they currently do.
Which means that every single race could be a wet race?
It could mean much more than that.
But Kunal, with all that action and unpredictability, we still had a Hamilton, a Rosberg and a Vettel on the podium. Talk about luck or consistency.
Or talk about absolute talent.
In this mix, we had Sergio Perez score big points for Force India again. Woo!
And in McLaren's context, we had Button score big points too.
Woo! So, Kunal, what is next for Lewis Hamilton? Chasing down Vettel's 4 titles and then Schumacher's 7?
Or it could be releasing a rap album. He is Formula One's current international superstar. And at this moment, whatever it is that he touches turns gold.
Including his hair. At this rate, I think the next title for Lewis Hamilton could well be Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. Simply put, CBE.
Sir Lewis Hamilton CBE. That does sound royal.
Before we move towards Mexico, I have one last thing to add about the US Grand Prix. I doubt whether Red Bull's most talented Russian driver, Daniil Kvyat, will ever be allowed to win the US Grand Prix, for obvious reasons.
Yes, we've spoken about how United States and Russia could well be fighting for supremacy in Formula One too.
So Mexico and Sergio Perez to be the heroes of the upcoming weekend.
But history tells me that Lotus already are the heroes in Mexico. They've won here 4 times already, the most for any constructor. And I'm really contemplating going and telling Pastor Maldonado that.
16 corners, 2 long straights, flowing corners. I guess Mexico seems to have all in the mix for an exciting weekend.
Yes, and as cliche as it may sound, the preliminary weather forecast indicates rain as well.
Woo! Glad we don't need the sprinklers.
But before we end the podcast, we should do what we usually do. Look at the other news around the sport and add our bits of humor to it.
Kunal, I have been dying to talk about Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez's incident in Malaysia. I half thought that Lewis Hamilton would do the same thing to Nico Rosberg at Turn 1 in Austin, That's how close they were.
I know the world of Formula One has overdosed on Red Bull Racing's engine issues, but I must highlight an extreme surprise out here. I cannot believe that Red Bull are considering Honda's engines for 2016. I mean, I really don't know what they are even thinking.
They're not thinking.
And what's even more funny is that McLaren and Ron Dennis have refused to let Honda power Red Bull Racing. I cannot fathom what Red Bull Racing is currently going through.
What is the world coming to? Though I still wonder, what if for the 4 Red Bull drivers, should the energy drink supplier actually pull out of the sport next season?
Maybe Ricciardo is planning his future outside of Red Bull already. Leading up to the United States Grand Prix, he signed up with a new management that would advise him on his affairs going forward. And, well, wait for it, last but not the least, McLaren's dropping of Kevin Magnussen from their supposed driver lineup of 2016.
Ouch.
I wonder if there's a silver lining in that dark cloud somewhere for him.
I do wonder what's worse for drivers, not having a drive at all, or then, crawling around at the back of the pack in a GP2 car. Food for thought.
That's it. Thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of the Inside Lines Formula One podcast. We are there everywhere on the internet, on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Spreaker, YouTube, Dailymotion, Twitter, and my blog, kunalsf1blog.com. Tune in yet again.
A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online so any small business can drive change or build an empire. Because old ideas aren't cutting it anymore. This new year, we need a new generation of thinking, your way of thinking. So whatever you have in mind that will help make a different future, find everything you need to get started at GoDaddy.com. Because the future isn't decided yet. It's still ours to win. Start different at GoDaddy.com.